Hi guys, welcome to day 11 in the Run Online Free Study. Today we're going to zoom in on a topic that's called failure versus faith. Failure versus faith. Let me read this verse to you. In Philippians 3, verses 13 through 14, Paul teaches us this. Paul says, "But there is one thing that I do. One thing that I do." And he says, "I forget what lies behind, and I reach forward for what lies ahead." I reach forward. I press toward that goal or that dream, and I have the desire to win. So Paul's really laying a foundation for us here in Philippians. He's telling us a few things that we need to consider. He's letting us know that we need to consider a few things. We need to know that we need to forget what lies behind us, and we need to reach forward for what lies ahead. Now, what I want to do is I want to kind of let you know that we have this struggle. We have this struggle between failure versus faith. So how do we get in motion to move forward and reach for the goals and dreams? How do we end up winning? We don't want to lose. We want to finish strong, and we want to win. So let's take a look at this. One thing that you have to know is faith and finish go hand in hand. Write that down somewhere, put it on a dashboard or an index card, and stick it somewhere where you can see it all week. Faith and finish go hand in hand. Your faith and the way you finish will go hand in hand. God only responds to your faith. He gets really excited about your faith. So again, your faith and your finish go hand in hand. I want to draw you a little bit more of a picture of how this looks, and I'm hoping that you can kind of parallel it to your life. And by the end of today's lesson, you're going to be excited to just get up and run strong for what lies ahead and reach some of those goals and dreams. So failure oftentimes is going to try to kick us right out of the race. It's going to be one of those things where it's just that file of all the failures that are in our life that we have filed away. And that file just wants to come out and just kick us right out of our race. But that's when we need to activate our faith, and we need to know that God is constantly working all things for the good. In Romans 8:28, it says, "We know all things that God works is for the good." We know that all things that God works is for the good, for those who love Him and are called according to His purpose. So if we really just focus on that verse now, and we just come to know this promise that says, God works all things for the good, we have to kind of set back and just think about this. And this is kind of how this all came into play today. I'm painting in my daughter's room. Painting is very messy for me. And yesterday when we were sitting in here, it was one of her birthday presents to redo her room. We began to create a vision board. We begin to think of what colors do we want. She has leopard wallpaper on two walls over here, and we began to just create a vision board of what could be and should be in this room. And we began to think of things that looked drabby or just dragged us down, and we thought the furniture, and I'm like, that's okay, we can redo. We can revamp that. That can become whitewashed, and it just pops the room. So we began to put a vision board together of what this wall looked like, what this wall will look like, because she's coming out of her baby pink. So we cached a vision, and we're envisioning a very pretty mint wall with some leopard wallpaper, whitewashed furniture, a Victorian peachy wall over there, and we're going to accent, honey, in golds and sparkle, and we're really going to pull the leopard, the mint, and the peach together in some gold, and we really got excited about this vision. And we both looked at it, and now what happens? Do we sit on the vision, or do we need to take a few steps with this? Do we need to move forward? And I believe God works the same way in our life. He, paintbrush in hand, He is ready stroke by stroke by stroke to work all things for the good. If you think about a paint by number, I love paint by numbers. I grew up with those. You would have a number and a color that matched it, and you obeyed that number, put the color in, and before you, when you were all done, you had your vision, you had your picture, and everything came together. Everything worked together if we just obeyed the paint by number system. And I believe the same thing is with us, that God sees the vision. He sees the finish. He understands what we're pressing toward. He understands the goal and the dream. He just wants us to line up with the number system. And that's when we need to activate our faith. So sometimes that can get confusing and people have a hard time understanding what that looks like. So let's zoom in today. I want to teach you a really quick lesson that comes from John chapter 5. So if you have your Bibles or a smartphone, Google John chapter 5. That'll be your reading. I'm encouraging you later after I speak through this, maybe you take some notes, to go ahead and read through John chapter 5 and accompany that to your life. Kind of visualize yourself in the characters in John chapter 5. If you have the Run Workbook, which if you do not have the Run Workbook, I'm encouraging you to grab a copy. Go ahead to my website, go to the store, you can grab a copy, it'll be out in the mail this week. But we're going to look at page 172 in the Run Workbook. And the same story that's in John chapter 5 is in session 5, day 2 in the Run Workbook. And there's a section actually there to help you break this down, this little teaching down, and really personalize it yourself and come alongside of the goals and the dreams and the activation of your faith. And sometimes we need to just write things down. We need to kind of get the paintbrush in our hand and we need to start working it out a little bit. So it's kind of your paint by number system, if I may say that. That's what your Run Workbook will be for you. It'll help you break down what we're going to learn today. So in John chapter 5, what I want you to see is there is the fact. I'm not going to get into the whole thing. I'm not going to read it. I'm just going to give you some facts because I'm encouraging and challenging you to actually read the whole thing, listen to my facts, and I know later when you have your quiet time and you can read, the Lord will pull it all together. But the fact is, in John chapter 5, it's titled The Pool of Bethesda. You find an individual that for 38 years was stuck on his mat next to the pool, just sitting there. He was in a certain condition and he was paralyzed. I'm going to say that again. He was in a certain condition and he was paralyzed. And so that place is where he sat for 38 years paralyzed. Now I want you to see a part in scripture in verse chapter 6. Again, John chapter 5, but in verse chapter 6, Jesus saw him lying there. And Jesus learned of his condition and knew he was there for 38 years. And you know what Jesus asked? The first thing that came out of Jesus' mouth is he said, "Do you want to get well? Do you want to get well?" Well, that is an interesting question coming from Jesus. But I really felt that he really wanted to position the faith of the person by the pool. He really wanted to activate the faith. So it's a question we can ask us. We can ask ourselves, do you really want to get well? Because I believe that that man or the individual that was sitting by the pool was really stuck in a self-pity season. Have you ever been there? A self-pity season. Kind of like we were in this room yesterday. Oh, it just feels drabby. I don't like the pink. I'm just feel stuck. I mean, I know I'm using a room to kind of give you an illustration, but I believe that we have seasons in our life that we go through and we just don't feel like moving. We feel like nobody has come by to help us. We feel really stuck. Our emotions get in the way. And the Lord was just coming right to him and kind of moving all of those distractions aside and just asking a simple question. Do you want to get well? Okay, remove the self-pity, remove everything that's going on, and do you want to get well? I just thought that was such a pivotal question in this individual's life. And then it goes on in John chapter 5, 6 through 9, and it says, Jesus says, right after he asks him, do you want to get well? Kind of getting him in a position to activate his faith. Directly after that, he said, get up, pick up your mat, and walk. Get up, pick up your mat, and walk. At once the man was cured. He picked up his mat and he walked. Now let me just show you something in these verses that have really taught me a lot in life. Again, sometimes we have to go back to our file cabinet. I think of our files, all of our failures, as kind of like our mat that we're sitting on. And so again, what paralyzed this man? What is paralyzing you? What is paralyzing you at your personal swim club that you're sitting by that you just cannot seem to move past? So what Jesus asked him, I believe Jesus came to him and asked him these things. Do you really want to get well? Do you want to see change? Are you happy staying where you're at? And I think we need to ask ourselves these questions and say, really just jot things down. Are you sure you want to write a book? I remember I was asking myself that for several years. Are you sure you want to write this book? Are you sure you have enough money? Are you sure people are going to have faith in you and trust in you? Are you sure people are going to like it? Questions that didn't matter, but they kept me stuck. Another area, are you sure you want to lose weight? Are you sure you want to make a change in that? How often can we sit in a season just wondering, are you sure? Should we? Are we gonna? And we just kind of stay on our mat. And then one season passes by, we didn't make any change, and we file it in as failure again. Failure again. Or we didn't stick to the diet, failure again. And these failures add up, and it becomes, we go deeper into the pit of self-pity. Another thing, are you sure you want to graduate or earn that degree? Sometimes you have to visualize that you earned that degree. You need to Xerox a graduation. You need to create a vision board of what could be and should be. I'm huge in creating vision boards. Again, that's why we sat in Olivia's room last night, created a vision board of what this room is going to look like. And it's going to look awesome, beautiful. With all her accessories, there's some things we might have to change and make over, but it's going to look great. And that's exactly what God's wanting to do. He wants to work all things for the good, but we need to move a little. So let me show you 3 orders that we learn in John chapter 5. Right after Jesus had this discussion with this individual, directly after that, there were 3 orders that Jesus gave. And the first order was get up. Get up. He didn't sit there and talk about it for hours on end. The first thing he says, get up. Failure is not final. Failure is not final. Many times we lose because we have broken focus. We have broken focus. The first thing we have to focus on is that failure is not final. And then we need to straighten up that broken focus by setting a couple small goals that we can move toward. Real small, achievable goals. Winners take steps every single day. Winners take steps. In the morning, in my dream routine in the morning, one of the things that I do is I review my dreams and my goals and my visions for my ministry, for my family, for the other job career. The other career that I'm working with is home management by designs, different things like that. There's goals and dreams. I work with a team on that. I work with a team that I just met this week with a gal, and I became accountable to some goals within HB Ministry, some goals with Run, some goals with the next Bible study that I'm working with, some goals and dreams and visions that I have for going out more and speaking and getting involved in other churches and just sharing God's word and helping others press toward their goals and their marks and their callings. That all starts with taking a step. And I love having accountability. I love showing somebody, here's my goals. Now I need accountability, because sometimes I get stuck on my own personal mat. That's why having accountability groups, community groups, small groups are so great, because we all come with our mats. We all come with our messes. So that brings me to number 2. So God's saying get up. And when he says get up, he's saying pick up your mat. Pick up your mat. Pick up your mess. We all have messes. Like I said, when you're getting ready to paint and cast a new vision, it's messy sometimes. When you're getting ready to make change, it's messy sometimes, because we've got to go back and deal with the messes in our life. Sometimes we have to pull out the file cabinet. We have to pick that file cabinet up. Sometimes filed in this file cabinet is sin, guilt, hurt, shame. Oh goodness, my testimony in here on shame, my personal season of my life, that shame stayed with me into the season that was supposed to be happy when I got married and when I had children. I carried the shame into that. Then I carried the shame into the next season. And it was something really hard. That mat just kind of was stuck with me, and I had self-pity. I couldn't experience the joy that I should have had. But I had to learn to pick up that mess and begin to walk in a new direction, deal with this mess with God the right way. But at the same time, as I was picking up this mess, dealing with it the right way, which there's more chapters in the Run book that help you, but actually coming in confrontation, it was confronting me. That mess was confronting me. But yet I was learning how to restore that and feel a revival that God had. So there was, opening that file cabinet was difficult. Opening those files of guilt and hurt and feelings and anger and bitterness and unforgiveness. I mean, we all have a file. We all have a file. So that file is like that mat that we just want to sit on and stay paralyzed. When you begin to pull out each little issue. And you know what I love about God is he doesn't pull it all out at once and throw it in front of you. One little thing at a time. His goal is to work it out of you. So you know the good, you feel the joy, you feel the peace. And I am so thankful for the mentors and the women that came alongside of me when I was even afraid to pull out that little thing, pull out that thing in my heart that I had so jammed deep. And when I began to pull it out, it was a process. And God began to heal and restore and revive. And that's what's really exciting. But you know what? It only happened when I decided to get up, deal with some of the messes, and move forward. So the third order, God said, when you get up with that mat, with that mess, is that you need to move. You need to walk. You need to position yourself. No more sitting. No more sitting. Stand in agreement. Stand in faith. That's the first step. And right after that, make a step. Make a movement forward. Make a movement forward. And you know what's amazing? God will show you the next step once you stand. He'll connect you with a friend. He'll connect you with another faith-based message. He'll make it easy because he wants you to put the next foot in front of the other. He wants you to pick up the paintbrush and paint the next number and the next number so you can begin to see the whole vision that he has for your life. He works all things for good. But it's hard for him to work without faith. We need to activate our faith by standing and then agreeing with God and making one step forward, one step forward. Every time you take a step forward, you move away from your past. Every time you take a step forward, it brings us back to the original verse that we started with in Philippians, when it says in Philippians 13 through 14, remember Paul was teaching us the one thing we need to remember: forget what lies behind and reach forward for what lies ahead. Press into the goals and the dreams. And the only way that we can do that is remembering that faith and finish go hand in hand. Have the faith and allow God to ask you some questions. And then realize that you are going to get up. You are going to pick up that mat, that mess, and you are going to walk. You're going to move forward. All that will come together in God's timing. But you just got to come into agreement and say, okay, God, I want to see that vision and I'm ready to go. Because in the end, failure will not be final. Don't let that finalize your life. There is a huge win in the end. You are a winner. You are not a loser. You are in this race and you will run strong. Thanks for joining me today, and I'm encouraging you to continue to dream big. Look at this word real quick in closing, and I do have a section, I believe it's in session 3, day 3 in the journal, where we talk just about the word dream in my run book. We talk all about it. And sometimes we have to go back to our messes, and we need to really think about what could be and should be. So we need to really determine where we are. And then we need to realign ourselves, kind of what we learned today. Establish new goals, gain some accountability, and watch God multiply your life. And we talk about that whole word dream in the run book. So again, I'm encouraging you to grab a copy and work this out on paper. Work it out with God. That's faith. He's going to help you stand step by step. Again, enjoy your day, and thanks for joining me.